Teenagers and motorcycles have a lot in common. Not only do their fragile egos lead to a constant search for approval from their peers, they're also deeply misunderstood. I was talking about motorcyclists, not teenagers. All of these normcore suburbanite cagers don't know a thing about what it's like to be a hardcore motorcyclist. So that's where today's video comes in. Here's the top 7 things people get wrong about motorcycles. Now, while motorcycles often have a reputation for being faster than cars, this belief is a misconception, as the performance capabilities of bikes and cars differ in multiple ways. It's not really a fair or direct comparison. There are plenty of circumstances in which a car will be faster than a motorcycle. Motorcycles typically excel in terms of acceleration, thanks to their lightweight design and a high power-to-weight ratio. However, cars generally have higher top speeds and better stability at high speeds compared to certain bikes. If you were to compare a motorcycle and a car head-on on the same track, their lap times and prowess would vary based on the layout of the track itself. In general, on a track with lots of twists and turns, motorcycles can achieve faster lap times compared to cars. This advantage is due to a motorcycle's lighter weight, which allows for quicker acceleration and more agile cornering. Additionally, motorcycles can take advantage of their narrow profile to navigate tight turns and more effectively than cars. However, on tracks with long straightaways where top speed is important, cars tend to have the upper hand due to their higher top speeds and better stability. Outside of the environment in which a car and a motorcycle would be compared, there are other factors that contribute as well. Of course, rider or driver skill has tons to do with it. A novice motorcyclist might be outperformed by an amateur car driver in a circumstance where a more experienced motorcyclist would have every other factor to their advantage, like a fast bike and a tight track with lots of windy turns. And not every car or motorcycle is created equal either. A CRF 300L dual sport will have a tough time keeping up with the most basic crossover SUV on a highway, but on a dirt trail, it will have the upper hand. But head-to-head, the fastest supercars versus the fastest superbike, with rider and driver both operating at a masterful skill level, whichever vehicle is faster will depend on the track's characteristics. Therefore, while motorcycles may have advantages in certain situations, such as quick acceleration and maneuverability in traffic, they're not universally faster than cars in all situations. And if you've ever tried to chase down a maniac in a Miata down a twisty canyon road, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Some people naively believe that riding a motorcycle cannot be much harder than riding a bicycle. The root cause of this misconception is that riding a bicycle easily translates to riding a motorcycle. It likely stems from the superficial similarities between the two modes of transportation. I mean, they both involve two wheels and a similar body position, which can give the impression that the skills learned on a bicycle would apply directly to riding a motorcycle. However, that's really where the similarities end. Knowing how to ride a bicycle plus knowing how to drive a car does not equal knowing how to ride a motorcycle. Motorcycling requires its own unique set of skills that are independent of practically anything else. This belief overlooks the significant differences in complexity and skill required to operate a motorcycle safely. Motorcycles have several additional complexities compared to bicycles. Firstly, motorcycles are much heavier than bikes, requiring more strength and control to maneuver effectively, especially at low speeds. Just because you can bunny hop your mongoose does not mean you can wheelie a Harley Davidson, a common misconception. Secondly, motorcycles have a manual transmission with a clutch, which adds a layer of complexity to shifting gears compared to the simple mechanics of a bicycle. Mastering the clutch and understanding how to finesse your gearbox requires practice and skill that goes beyond basic bicycle riding. Riding a motorcycle at higher speeds requires different levels of balance and control compared to a bicycle. The higher the speeds, combined with the weight of the motorcycle, mean that maintaining balance and stability becomes more challenging and crucial for safety. On a motorcycle, the ability to maintain traction, master throttle input, progressive braking, and counter steering all contribute to successful and safe operation. And these skills aren't really universally akin to bicycling. Ultimately, the misconception is false that riding a motorcycle involves a level of complexity and skill that goes beyond what's required for riding a bicycle. Proper training, including understanding the controls, mastering balance, and learning safe riding technique, is essential for anyone looking to ride a motorcycle safely and confidently. But I will say this, as a cyclist myself, I think the skills of road biking in terms of being vigilant and hyper-aware of all of your surroundings translate very well to riding motorcycles. Motorcycles are nearly universally deemed to be far more dangerous than driving a car. The misconception that motorcycles are inherently more dangerous than cars likely stems from several factors. First, motorcycles offer less physical protection to riders compared to cars, leaving riders more vulnerable in the event of a crash. Secondly, motorcycles can be less visible to other road users, increasing the risk of collisions. Additionally, the perception of motorcycles as being more risky may be influenced by the idea that riding a motorcycle requires more skill and experience than driving a car. In the 100 years since motorcycles have become commonplace, they have usually been viewed as the means of transportation for reckless thrill seekers and squids who are trying to push the boundaries of their own ability every moment they're on the bike. Which, in reality isn't usually the case. It is important to note that while motorcycles do pose unique risks, they can be managed and mitigated through various means. Proper training is crucial for bikers to develop the necessary skills and awareness to ride safely. Wearing appropriate riding gear is massively important component to staying safe when you're on your bike and significantly reduce the severity of injuries in the event of a crash. You gotta dress for the slide, not for the ride, boys. Mastering your skills of perception and adhering to the rules of the road are also essential for reducing the risk of crashing. And other road users play a significant role in motorcycle safety. Drivers of cars or other vehicles should be aware of motorcyclists on the road that take care of them to give them enough space and visibility. Statistics show that while motorcycles do have a higher fatality rate per mile traveled compared to cars, this is partly due to the increased exposure of riders. By considering the inherent vulnerabilities of riding a motorcycle, such as less physical protection and greater difficulty maintaining stability, the risk levels can be seen as more comparable to driving a car. This highlights the importance of responsible riding and driving practices for all motorists on the road, as well as the need to dispel the misconception that motorcycles are just inherently way more dangerous. And I tell this to you guys a lot on this channel: if you can just avoid riding at night, wear a helmet, and don't drink alcohol when you ride, you're gonna be way better off than the vast majority of people that get injured on a motorcycle. As I mentioned, it's a bit of a misconception in itself that all motorcyclists are outlaw, law-breaking rebels. I think most people have accepted the fact that the leather-clad 1%ers seen in movies and TVs are quite far removed from anything akin to the real life of a motorcyclist, but there's still a stigma and a belief that all motorcyclists are inherently reckless lawbreakers. The root cause of this misconception that all motorcyclists are rebels likely stems from a few factors. First, people tend to perceive members of a group that they are not a part of as more similar to each other than members of their own group. That's some classic psychology for you. This can lead to a stereotype that lumps all motorcyclists together as a single homogeneous group with negative characteristics. Second, there may be a visibility bias at play. When people see a motorcyclist engaging in reckless or illegal behavior, it tends to stand out in their memory more than the instances of responsible riding. If a Gixxer squid lane splits past a Karen in a minivan at 150 miles per hour on the freeway, it's probably going to stand out in her memory greater than the calm, patient, law-abiding riders that go unnoticed on the road. This can create a skewed perception that all or most motorcyclists behave in this manner. And third, as I mentioned, since the beginning of movies and television, the media portrayal of motorcyclists has played a role in perpetuating this stereotype. Movies, television shows, and news reports often focus on sensationalized stories of motorcycle clubs.
This is the most violent and most gruesome scene that I have dealt with.
Reckless squids or roving delinquent group rides that shut down the entire freeway. This can reinforce the idea that all motorcyclists are reckless D-bags. It's false to say that all motorcyclists are lawbreakers. While there are, of course, some irresponsible riders, the majority of motorcyclists value safety and responsibility. We all want to get home to our families too. Many experienced motorcyclists are actively involved in promoting safe riding practices and raising awareness about the importance of proper training and risk mitigation. If one were to generalize, it would almost be more accurate to describe the modern motorcyclist as kind of being a nerd. Safe riding and proper riding technique is highly proselytized. The finest minutiae and characteristic of each motorcycle is analyzed with a keen, scrupulous perception. The modern motorcyclist is more likely to go toe-to-toe debating the efficacy of aerodynamic winglets than they are to beef over a territory dispute or whatever the hell happens in Sons of Anarchy. I think of the modern motorcyclist as an IT professional making like $90,000 a year and has money to blow on a toy. But that just might be my perception bias based on people on my Discord server. I know a vast majority of you watching this channel don't own your own bike yet, and that's okay. Soak up the knowledge and enjoy yourself while you're here, my sweet squid in training. But did you know I give away motorcycles here on this channel? I've actually given away over 50 bikes valued at over $500,000 in the last 5 years. All you need to do to get entered is go to yammynoob.co, pick out a hat, a hoodie, a t-shirt, a key tag, whatever you want, and every dollar you spend will be an entry to win subject to a cool multiplier. It's the easiest, no commitment way to get entered to win. But if you want the best chance to win, you should become a member. Not only will you get automatic entries to win, but you'll also get access to our exclusive Discord server, spicy NSFW Yammy Noob content, and more. So head over to the website, get entered to win, and check it out. It's also believed that universally, smaller motorcycles will always be easier to handle. Smaller motorcycles are often perceived as less intimidating due to their size. People might assume that a smaller bike would be easier to handle, especially for beginners or those with less riding experience. Smaller motorcycles generally weigh less than larger ones, which can lead to the assumption that they are easier to maneuver and control, particularly at lower speeds or in tight spaces. Smaller motorcycles typically have less power than larger ones, which could lead some people to believe that they're easier to manage, especially for beginners who may be concerned about handling high power. And while these sentiments often reign true, there's always an exception to every rule as well. Proper fit is crucial for comfort and control, and a motorcycle that's too small or too large for a rider can be challenging to ride. How the weight is distributed on a motorcycle affects its handling. Some larger bikes are designed with a low center of gravity and balanced weight distribution, making them very manageable even for beginners. A classic example is a BMW GS or a Honda Goldwing. Both are very large bikes, but have been designed in such a way that make them pretty easy to ride. They're not going to be fun to pick up if you drop them though. The type of riding a motorcycle is designed for also affects its ease of use. Some larger bikes like touring adventure motorcycles are designed with features that enhance stability and ease of handling over long distance or varied bumpy terrain. That's why they're so tall and have good ground clearance. Think of a lifted Jeep. It's a similar thing. A certain style of motorcycles like cruisers are inherently going to be bigger and heavier than most sport bikes. And while being heavy, a cruiser typically has a low seat height, a low center of gravity, and a very forgiving throttle with a low power to weight ratio, making certain models well suited for beginner riders who are interested in that style. Bigger bikes often have some more premium components in tech as well. Advancements in motorcycle tech such as TC, which is traction control, ABS, anti-lock braking, or adjustable suspension can make larger bikes easier to handle by providing additional stability. So while smaller bikes are often perceived as easier to ride, the reality is that factors such as bike fit, weight distribution, intended use, and technological advancements play a significant role in determining the motorcycle's ease of handling. Some larger bikes are designed to be very manageable, even for beginners, debunking the misconception that a smaller motorcycle is always easier to ride. The root cause of the misconception that motorcycles are uncomfortable and impractical for long trips likely stems from several factors. People who have not ridden motorcycles extensively may assume that the seating position and overall design are uncomfortable for long periods. Motorcycles are often depicted in media as vehicles for short, adventurous rides rather than practical, long-distance travel. And there may be a social stigma or stereotype that motorcycles are for thrill seekers and not suitable for comfortable long journeys. However, this misconception is false, especially when you look at touring bikes. Touring bikes are specifically designed for long-distance travel and offer several features that prioritize comfort and convenience. They've got comfortable seating positions with ergonomically designed rider triangles and can reduce fatigue on long rides. These bikes are usually equipped with features such as adjustable handlebars, foot pegs, and windscreens, allowing the rider to customize their position for maximum comfort. Touring motorcycles come with various luggage options as well, including saddlebags, top cases, tank bags, and getting ample storage space for long trips. Many touring bikes are equipped with advanced TC, cruise control, GPS, and electronic suspension systems that are going to make the ride just a whole lot better for other riders. Some people also believe that motorcycles are exclusively used in warm, sunny weather conditions. The misconception that motorcycles are only suitable for fair weather makes perfect sense. Motorcycle riders are exposed to the elements, and most average Joes couldn't envision themselves willingly being rained on while on a motorcycle. But motorcyclists are built different. Riding in adverse weather conditions can be uncomfortable without the proper gear and accessories, but with proper planning and equipment, it's very doable. Motorcycle riders are definitely more often seen when the weather is good, which further leads to a perception that motorcycles are primarily fair weather vehicles, but riding in rain, cold, or snow can be perceived as riskier due to reduced traction and visibility, potentially leading to the belief that motorcycles are only safe to ride in good weather. But that's really not true. Motorcycles can be ridden safely in various weather conditions with the right gear, accessories, and technique. There is specialized gear and accessories available for all kinds of conditions, like waterproof riding gear, heated clothing, and heated grips to protect hands from cold and wet conditions. Using tires designed for wet and cold conditions improves traction as well. And of course, riders can learn techniques for handling adverse conditions, such as adjusting your style to accommodate for reduced traction, increasing following distance, and being more aware of potential hazards. Additionally, riders can improve their visibility to others by wearing reflective gear and ensuring their headlights and taillights are functioning properly. But I will say, there's some times that the weather is simply too gnarly for you to keep riding. I recently had a situation where I had a freaking tornado behind me while I was riding, and I was trying to outchase the storm, and I had to ditch my bike on the side of the road and get jumped into a pickup truck. Seriously, that happened. It was crazy. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. How many different misconceptions do you have that you consistently explain to your friends and family? I think it's a misconception that you won't subscribe to Yammy Noob. Prove everyone wrong. Subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all later. Fact: platypuses sweat milk. They're somewhere between a mammal and a duck. I don't know where they sit. Goodbye. Sadly for you, this episode of Yummy Noob is over, but there's a great way you can keep the conversation going with me. It's by becoming a member over on yammynoob.co. You'll join our Discord server. I'm on there literally every day. You can ask me questions, hang out with me. It's a great way to support the show. But if you just want to keep watching some amazing squid content, well, hit the link right over here and check out this next video. I promise you it's good.